why not just have, like you said, just why do the age group qualification the same way you do the Elite 15? Just make it the Elite 30 or whatever.
The Elite 60. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
think
Whatever spaces there are, and then have roll downs because people are going to not show up or don't even know they
yes,
qualify.
I think that I think 60 people being willing to travel in any given age group. I mean, I think some of the larger age groups, they would probably want more, but I think 60 is a fairly decent number.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Be sure you subscribe as we are fast approaching 1,000 subs, and boy, wouldn't that be great. On today's program, Cheryl Snow, we're talking age group stuff. We're talking qualification spots for the world champs, everything you need to know. Let's dive into it. Away we go. Well, for those listening, under my name, it says 50 plus, and under your name, it says age grouper. We are identifying strongly today with who we are. And I have to say, sorry, but before we get started talking about this thing, there's a post today by HYROX 365 official, which everybody, of course, completely understands and knows what it does. Ever wonder what our set looks like? Here's a peek behind the scenes of a workout production at FIT for the Performance Hub. No, we haven't. We haven't wondered what it looks like because we're waiting for somebody to explain the fuck you do.
We don't even know what you are.
Because, by the way, guess what you announced yesterday on HYROX UK? Let me pull it up real quick. HYROX UK. Un momento, por favor. Shreddy by HYROX, the world's first female-focused HYROX guide for as little as an iced coffee a month. So here's yet another training app they've partnered with. Get it together, HYROX. Come on.
Yeah, just throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah, I just again, if your idea was, listen, we'll license this fucking to anything. Anybody wants to say we're an official HYROX training app, cool. Like that would be okay. Or you have your own thing called HYROX 365, or we're going to give it to you. Having both seems really weird. And I know I keep laying on this, but it's only because I keep seeing more of these things pop up. Otherwise, I would have let it go.
For sure. I love that you won't let this go.
All right. More important, pressing things. Age group changes, or were they? Yesterday,
yeah, I don't think they were. Yeah.
People kind of lost their mind, and Ian and I started talking about this. He said, I think I'm going to do a post, Ian from UK HXR, because people were noticing there were zeros next to age group qualifications. We all look when these things come out, what's the number of spots? And there was already this weird thing of bigger races didn't necessarily have more spots. But then this year, there's some extra focus on it. Rock's Life posted something just a few moments ago, and the first slide says only 1% will qualify, which we learned when I talked to Christian earlier this year. He's like, we have so many people, and therefore it's going to be about 1%. Great. We get the 1%. Oops. So the problem seems to be with the open wave who qualify for age group versus age group who qualify for age group. What do you think is right with this system and what is wrong with this system, Cheryl? Or do you only feel one way?
I think that when you interviewed Christian and you guys talked about how it had been 2% and then it was going to be 1%, like I immediately started doing the math in my head about what that meant for me personally. And I'll tell you, in my age group, there wasn't always a qualifying spot last year. Like I would sign up for a race and then I would have to wait to find out if there was going to be a qualifying spot to even try for, because I think they've always gone on the numbers. And so I think, you know, because my age group has, I think, fewer numbers and not necessarily everybody signs up, you know, for our age group, that I think that what's happening is that because now it's to 1% instead of 2%, this tendency is just bleeding over into age groups that aren't used to this having happened, right? In the 40s or, you know, in their 40s or whatever. What do I think is right about the system? I don't know. I don't know if I can speak to what's right about the system. I will say I I'm not so sure it's necessarily the best thing to just say, if you win at an event, then you get a qualifying spot, maybe, right? Like I think that's the problem that I have is that here we're spending money and we're training for these races. I've signed up for Chicago. I'm hoping there's a spot for me there. If not, then I'm going to have to, hope to do well in some other race where there's a spot. And so I think it's just kind of the uncertainty that I think is probably catching people off guard more than anything. I would say that's the thing that feels the most wrong about it.
So without looking, my guess is the most competitive age groups are like the 30 to 40, because like younger
Yeah,
people, there's not as many. Older people, there's not as many. So my friend Matt Kemp, for example, can race his ass off and not make it, and it's really hard
right.
for him. Right, that was his
Yeah,
last
40
year.
to 49 is actually a pretty tough age group too. I
Yeah,
think those
exactly.
guys are
Right.
really
Because
yeah.
what have you got? You've got people who have got some income and who are at a point in their life where they're focusing on something. They're not out partying. They're not out just gallivanting, going to concerts all the time. Not that plenty of you listening who are that age aren't doing those things, but just that seems to be a successful age group for trail running, for triathlon, for OCR, for HYROX, right?
Right.
So, so it would make sense, Cheryl, that in your age group, which is, remind people what range you're
I'm 55 to 59.
in your age group, it would be quote unquote easier because there would be less people trying to get in that age group.
Right.
So why
I think
would
it
it?
is. Yeah.
So why would it now be harder?
Why would it now be harder?
Yeah, if you add more races, you're still not getting a ton of people in that age group.
But I guess there's still a chance that sure you are. I mean, I think if you're doubling the amount of races, I mean, you've got the stats on that. You're the stats guy. There's way more people racing this year than there were last year. And they've got to come up with a way. Look, unless they're going to do like Spartan DEKA does, where they just take the top times, right? Spartan just takes top 15 times, you're into Worlds. You get an email in September, an invitation to Worlds. That's really cut and dried. And unless they're going to do something time-based, which, we could talk about, if they're going to do it based on if you won that day, well, how many races are there going to be this year? I mean, they're just not going to have enough space to accommodate that many people at a world championship, I would think. I think we had like 2 waves of 30 go through in my age group last year. So there were like 60 of us that raced.
So here's the tricky part that I've still never understood, which is that you can qualify in open for age group.
Yeah, that's never made sense to me.
It's never made sense. You're either racing lighter weights because you just want to try it out, and cool, if it goes super well, maybe then move up to age group next time. Instead, they go, no, we're going to give you guys a bunch of qualifying spots too. And, but by the way, when you show up to the world champs, it'll be heavier than you've ever pushed. So it's never made sense. So now they're saying, since there's even less spots, those open people might not get a space at all, but the age group of that age group still will.
Does it make sense to you to just tell the open people you don't qualify for Worlds unless you push pro?
That's what doesn't make sense. That's what never made sense. I mean, I understand early days, sure, because you just want to build up. You want to get 2,000 people to a race. You got to like get that email. You qualified, right? Now they don't need to do that anymore. Open is open. Why not just treat it like fucking open? I don't understand at all.
I think the vast majority of people are just trying to finish the race anyway. I think there's really a handful of us that are competitive enough to try to qualify for Worlds. I mean, now it's down to 1%, but most people who are doing a HYROX, they just want to finish a HYROX.
Right. So I don't understand. Again, I never understood it, but I guess early on you're like, sure, let's get them all there and give them a treat. Oh yay, I qualified for Worlds. But again, you've established this now that you're a worldwide brand. You're going to do, let's pull up my numbers. By the way, Jack is in fact the stats guy. I'm just a guy that pays a lot of attention to the number of people who participate in races.
You know, I really do like those. It has been pretty fascinating to see how quickly this has grown, and knowing that I just had to make some decisions this year in choosing my races, that it really wasn't about qualifying for some world championship, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to.
Right. So here we go. So here's the year starting from the last race. The last race was Nice. Okay, technically the last race of the season was Nice. So this season, Melbourne, Singapore, Sydney, Brisbane, 6,600, 6,100, 5,700, 4,700. What is 1% of 23,000? 23 people? No, that can't be right. 230 people?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so 230 of 23,000 care about their times. Really, right? Or not care, but you know what I'm saying. Just like when you run a Spartan open wave, you don't really care. You probably skip obstacles, but you still look, oh, look, I'm 170th out of 340th. I mean, I did that in my first Warrior Dash ever. This was back when they didn't print them out. They just had a screen, and you would just kind of look at the screen and it would scroll up and oh, there's my name. Like, you care, but you don't, right?
Right.
So what was the beef on the comments that I didn't quite understand? Let me pull up this post again. I feel like there was something I was confused about. Or what did you get out of the comments?
I looked at specifically, I think, Heidi Williams mentioned the 60 plus, that she's concerned about that. And I'm not entirely certain that HYROX is saying that if we don't let you race pro, that you can't qualify for world championships, because 60 plus people, I think, will always race open. And so they'll qualify depending on the number of people that are signing up. But aside from that, I kind of got the impression from the comments that a lot of people sort of completely understand. There's still the misunderstanding about why they're even allowing open competitors to get into world championships. And it seems like a very simple fix if they want to reduce the number of people qualifying, to just have the pros qualify.
Well, it also kind of like, why not just have, like you said, just why do the age group qualification the same way you do the Elite 15? Just make it the Elite 30 or whatever.
The Elite 60. You know what I mean? Like, I think
whatever spaces there are, and then have roll downs, because people are going to not show up or don't even know they qualify.
I think that I think 60 people being willing to travel in any given age group. I mean, I think some of the larger age groups, they would probably want more, but I think 60 is a fairly decent number.
So just to clarify, people who are 60 and above do race with the open weights, correct?
Correct.
Now, in Nice, is that still the case? Or did everybody do all pro all the time?
No, the 60 plus had open weights.
And so that will stay the same.
Open weights across the board. Yeah.
So if that stays the same, then that's the argument that if there's not even spots for them to qualify, right?
I would suspect that they're going to qualify based on the number of people participating, and it's not going to make a difference whether or not they're racing open or pro.
So I really liked what Mark Lewis said here. Okay. Mark Lewis said, sounds like some people here are confusing, quote unquote, a sport for everyone with, quote unquote, everybody should be able to go to the championships of that sport. Football is a sport for everyone, but I don't want Bob from accounts running around in the World Cup. Bob from accounts taking strays here. Cat Bids says Bob from accounts is a tight arse and wouldn't go to Worlds. But I guess is what she means here. The boys that won Brisbane Open doubles did a 54.50 and were under 29. They missed out as only one spot to 30 to 39 who came third. The open times aren't lazy, but first race in Brisbane, so many chose open as new to the sport. All right, what is she even saying there? I'm so confused.
What she's saying is that if there had been a time qualification, that they would have gotten in, that they had a screaming fast time. and they're not going to qualify because that's what I'm hearing.
Right, but with open weights, they had a fast time. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. Which I
The
I
boys
think
that
that's the
won
decision you have
Brisbane
to make.
Open doubles.
Yeah.
So they were the fastest of all the doubles. They were 29, but there was only one
Yeah.
spot given, and it was a 30 to 39-year-old who came third. So what they're saying is, if they did it faster, why aren't they getting into the people who did it slower? That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's fucking, that you can't say that. Like,
No,
that's
you can't
like
say that.
the woman who wins the 30 to 39 age group, even if it's with pro weights, if she's faster than the fastest woman who ran elite that day, you don't then give her the elite 15 if she doesn't run, right?
Actually, no. If you run pro, then you could qualify for the Elite 15.
No, I'm sorry. If you
So
run right, if you run open and you finish faster than the elite 15, you don't then get into the elite 15. That's
oh,
basically
right.
what she's trying to say there, is that
Look, I mean, could we ever get to a point as a HYROX athlete to decide, okay, I'm going to go big time. I want to try to qualify for world championships. I'm going to start racing pro, right? Like that just seems like a logical decision that if Open's just its own race, and then you really wanted to get serious about the sport, you started racing pro because that's how you would qualify for
yeah,
world championships.
and it's so much clearer than obstacle racing. Obstacle racing with pro versus open, it's, did you do all the obstacles? Did you complete them? Did you do the penalty if you didn't? Like, there's all this stuff that makes it so much harder to manage. And we've been talking on this show for a while about, well, why don't we just like have the open people be judged by different people? Because it doesn't matter anyway. Like, let them have
Mm-hmm.
easier wall ball judges and everything else.
Right.
So because it is so black and white, again, I see this when they were year one firing this thing up, like, let's give people two options. If you're pro,
Mm-hmm.
here's these really strong weights. If you're new or whatever, you want to come and get off the couch, as we always say, here's these lighter weights. That made sense. Now here we are, year 7. Okay. And 5 years of world championships, it seems like they should have this one figured out.
Maybe this is the step in that direction, that by next year they'll just shut the door.
Yeah, maybe they thought they needed to give people more warning. But what do you think about all of the age group world championships just being the same? You could make it the same rules as the elite 15 and do 2 races, or just saying, just 1 race and top 60, right? Either one of those would work for age group. Doesn't matter if you win or you don't win. It's about whether you put down a decent time or 2 decent times.
I look at the women who I raced with, and they're all the top times anyway.
Right.
I mean, it kind of shakes out to be about the same anyway. But I think times just are a little cleaner, and then you don't have to worry about where you're at. I also don't think, for most age groupers, and this, I hesitate to say this for everybody, because I know that some of the age groups are incredibly competitive, but for my age group, differences in course isn't actually going to make that much of a difference. So I think we would be fine even that way.
Jack, I need you to get on that. I need you to do all the stats you do for the elite 15, for the 50 to 55 and the 55
Just all
to
the
all the stats. I'm trying to think why that's true. I'm trying to talk myself through that, because at first my thought is, well, yes, of course. But then I think, well, you are the different corners. No, I guess you have to be more elite to shave more off. Yeah, that makes right.
Yes. Look, when I asked my coach about whether or not I needed to care about the kind of shoes I was wearing for these races, he was like, no. And the real message was, look, I mean, you're fine, you're pretty good, but shoes aren't going to actually make a huge difference in your life. So
have you seen, you haven't seen wild swings in your times? You've just seen gradual improvement? Or if you have a bad day,
yes,
or Nice was really hot, you did slower or whatever?
Nice actually went really well for me, but yeah,
Because you're
for the
used to
most
those
part.
fucking swamp coolers. That's why.
Amen. That's right. It's the swamp coolers. So yeah. No, I do. I've never seen wild swings, and it's never been, oh, this was a fast course. Like maybe it would shave, a minute or something. But if you're taking 60, I think that's pretty much taking the cream of the crop. And for the most part, you'd be able to get in.
What do you think about a major coming back to Vegas?
I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. I've got so many hopes and dreams for that one. I don't care about any other race except that race. I just want to do a good job because my friends are going to be there, and I'm just really excited to host everybody. I'm trying to. I was looking up like suites at the Wynn to see like, let's just have a party, afterward or
Wow,
something.
sweets
I
at the
don't know,
Win. Look at you.
right? Yeah, like I was really going crazy for a little while there, but I've calmed down now. But no, just super excited. It feels like everybody's going to come. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I think all the Euros will come. I think everyone's going to come. I thought the locals avoided the strip though,
Oh, absolutely. I haven't been on the strip in a long, long time.
but you
I'd
want to
never
have a
go down
party at the
there.
Win though.
Well, if I'm already down there, I mean, sure. I mean, what I'll probably do, I'm actually thinking about getting a room down there just because it'll make it easier. Because driving in is such a pain, and so it might just be nice to just stay down there. It comes to this HYROX stuff, like you're asking if I've got any other thoughts. And one thought I had while I was running, because you had asked me about this before my run, and so I was thinking about it. And okay, it's great to qualify. It's great to sort of have those opportunities to sort of go to world championships or whatever, and podium and stuff, but let's just kind of remember that we are doing this because we just like it. I mean, to just be healthy enough to get out there and run a doubles, run a relay, run a singles, trying to push ourselves, try to be a little better. I mean, there is more to this than just qualification. And I think I think we'd be a lot happier if we remembered that sometimes.
Well, I hate to go 100% morbid on you, Cheryl, but I'm going to say this. I've seen a dead person recently, okay, very recently, up
Yeah.
close. And yeah,
Okay.
every day above ground is a good fucking day. All right.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true.